Hello and welcome to the Flex. I'm Matt St. Jean here with Joe Howie as always, and special guest Joey Jarzinka from the Eastern Observer. How you doing?
Matt, Joe, thank you both for having me on. Pretty good over here on Long Island. Just waiting for the sky to open up. It should be starting to pour in about I don't know 35 seconds. But how you guys doing, Matt, Joe? How you guys doing?
It's been pouring at my apartment all day.
Yeah,
So
same here. Been pouring in the New York suburbs as well, so you're not alone.
yeah,
Thanks for having me, guys.
of course. We got a good game here. The first nationally televised Big East game of the year, Providence and Seton Hall on Saturday. It's a 12:30, just a little early afternoon tip-off there at the Prudential Center. Providence comes in at 8-3. Seton Hall at 7-4, fresh off a win against Drexel this week. Joey, I want to start with you to get some perspective on the Seton Hall team. No, that game got closer than people expected it might early on. Had the close win against Rutgers. What is the state of the Seton Hall team right now?
Well, you heard yesterday from Shaheen Holloway in the post game press conference. Let's just say that he was not happy with the way that everything had come about. And obviously, you had a game high 31 point lead against a CAA team, the Drexel Dragons. Um, they were, the foot was on the gas the whole time, and everything was going right until Femi Odekali hurt his left ankle. He's day to day with that ankle injury. He's got a boot on. The identity of this team, Matt, is their defense. And we know what Shaheen Holloway did in his days as a player. We know what he was all about when he was an assistant coach under Kevin Willard here at Seton Hall. And we also know what his identity was all about with St. Peter's. It was not the scoring, it was the defensive ability that he brings night in and night out. And he's bringing it here to Seton Hall. And you got a chance to see it on Sunday against Rutgers. You got a chance to see it last night against Drexel. But the defense broke down yesterday. And it was a little tough to see what was going on there. Drexel went on a 26-6 run, and it was an uncomfortable win. And like I said, he also said that the team is older, but they're very immature.
Yeah, he had quite a quote after that game, and that's not the first time he's kind of thrown some of the players under the bus after a game of the season either.
Oh yeah, I'll be honest with you. Some of the older players that he's got Tyrese Samuel. He also has obviously one of his own, Casey Nadefo, that he brought in. Jameer Harris is a graduate guard. You also have a Kadari Richmond, too, a junior transfer from Syracuse a couple of years back. So he has these players, but he considers them very immature. There's just a lot of different pieces here that need to come together. And I think that you have, Matt and Joe, almost 5 different players or puzzle pieces, if you will, that have yet to click and come together and form that puzzle piece. On defense, seamless. They attack you left and right. That full court press in the beginning, you could see it the whole way. That half court defense is phenomenal. But then once, things start to go and the game starts to progress, they wind down just a tiny bit, and that's what we're seeing here. It's a little bit scary. And they were down to just 7 scholarship players yesterday. Really tough go for them.
Joey, I like that point that you bring up about the 5 puzzle pieces that, when clicking together defensively, they really work, because I think that presents an interesting dichotomy when you look at Providence, because we're on the flip side of things, where we have 5 puzzle pieces that offensively can click together and put together a really good offensive performance, but on the defensive end, it's not quite there yet. Let's take the game against UAlbany and Manhattan out of this. You're looking at 3 losses to power conference teams, and then the rest are, 12 to 14 point wins over teams that you should be beating by 40. And I think it's totally because of the defensive effort. So I think that this is going to be an interesting matchup because, like you said, Seton Hall defensively, they're sound. They have a good foundation there. Providence offensively, is good. But now Providence's defense and Seton Hall's defense, that's where things get interesting.
Yeah, I mean, guys, when you look at this and just by looking at the numbers too, I was doing some research earlier, and offensive scoring for the Friars, 80.3 points per game. And Matt, we said this on the instant reaction, that we throw the records away, especially once Big East Conference play starts. And there's so much, or at least, Joe, you had said that the offense is clicking, the defense is clicking for offense and defense for both for both teams. Not obviously for Seton Hall, their offensive side of things not great, and their Providence, their defensive side of things not working great. But there's also so many different factors too with Providence too. They've got a brand new team. If you look at it, we brought that up too, Matt. Is they've got, think of what they lost 7 different players. They lost 7 players and 5 starters from a year ago that are gone. And it's something too that I think the best word to describe all of this, guys, it's like an unknown. You have no idea what's going to happen either way. And we're going to get to see it on national TV.
Yeah. They definitely picked an interesting one to put on the national broadcast. That's for sure.
This game, I think, looked a lot more appealing a month and a half ago than it does right now.
Oh, yeah. Reigning Big East regular season champions. You've got NCAA sweetheart Shaheen Holloway returning to his alma mater. Of course, it looked better on paper. And now we're a month and a half, 2 months into the season. They're like, oh, all right, here we go.
I think if the Big East could do it over, the Creighton Marquette game would probably be the one getting the national Fox treatment, and this one would be in the Friday night slot. So I don't know with Creighton right now.
I was going to say, I don't know if you're riding a 5-game skid into a nationally broadcasted game. I don't know how much eyeballs I want on that.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I know we said I think we want to learn a lot about both of these teams in this game. Joe, I'll start with you. From the Friars' perspective, what do you want to learn about the Friars on Saturday afternoon?
I want to learn how Bryce Hopkins does against the athletic wings of Seton Hall. We've seen him dominate so far on the schedule, and like I said earlier, you've only played 3 upper tier opponents. So of course he's going to dominate when he's playing lesser teams. I want to see now what he does against an opponent in Seton Hall that has a lot of wings that like to slash and drive to the rim. Like, let's see Hopkins defensively and see how he dials in to his own level of competition, if you will.
Joey, what are you looking to take away from the Seton Hall side here?
Well, offensively is obviously something that this team is continuing to struggle with. And granted, yesterday, 23 of 53 from the floor, which, it's a 44% clip, give or take, if 43, 44, if my math is correct. Again, it's not great. I would want to see more of Kadari Richmond, because I think that I think is the biggest key that I want to see from Seton Hall tomorrow, especially because Femiota Cali, we don't know if he's going to go. And if he doesn't go, we know what his defense is all about, Richmond's that is. But his offense, though, has been there at times. And the big word that, or not even really, just the word rather, that Shaheen Holloway continued to say over and over again in his post-game press conference was spurts. And not only about Kadari Richmond, but about the team. The team shows spurts of life, both on the offensive and the defensive side. But Kadari Richmond, there are times when he doesn't show up, or you'll see him like yesterday, 9 boards, 3 steals, 8 points. Fantastic stuff. Or you'll see him starting and going 0 for 6 from the floor. Can't really find anything. Can't find a lane in. So that's really what I'm looking for, is I want to see the emergence of Kadari Richmond under Shaheen Holloway. We saw what he was capable of last season under Kevin Willard. But now, again, this is not a typical point guard that Shaheen Holloway would have handpicked himself in Richmond. No way.
No. I think he's an interesting player to me, because on paper, this is a guy who kind of could have emerged to be a first-team all Big East type of guy this year. That path was there for him, and now he's not really even in the starting lineup for them.
No, and for again, this is something that a lot of us in the media room have been talking about. Alamir Dawes, who's a really, really good transfer. Also, you had Clemson, or he was from Clemson too. Femi Olakale from Pitt. Again, it's more on the lines of who wants it the most, and who can really gel. And again, we go back to what we had said before, Joe, about the 5 puzzle pieces, and you're just going to pretty much throw everything in a whiteboard, or a board rather, and whatever it is, we'll see if it can click. And that's exactly what Shaheen Holloway has done here through the first 11 games. And surprisingly enough, he's gotten 7 wins. The team's not happy. He's not happy. But a lot of us are saying you really didn't expect 7 wins out of the first 11 from this team. No.
Could be a lot worse.
I mean, hey, listen, let me tell you guys something. Joe, you brought up before about how Providence 8 wins out of their first 11. Albany, Manhattan, Stonehill, Merrimack. Sounds like a St. John's schedule.
We're sitting here and we're talking about Providence and Seton Hall. And Matt, you said this is going to be a game where we find out a lot about both teams. St. John's has one of the best records in the league, and I know nothing about them. Yeah. Absolute zilch. Other than Joel Soriano is a double-double machine against lower quality opponents.
Yeah, and Corbello is better than I thought.
Yep.
Yeah. Against lower quality opponents.
Yep. There it is, Joe. You hit the nail right on the head, and that's all you need to know.
Yep.
And that St. John's at Villanova game next Wednesday. That's when I got circled on the calendar as another one where we're trying to learn a lot about where both teams are right now.
Yeah. I think you could say that about a lot of teams in the conference, and I'm going to throw Creighton into that boat as well. Really, if your name isn't UConn, your identity is being formed within the next couple of weeks.
Or Georgetown. I think we know Georgetown's identity.
Who's that?
The former Big East school, Georgetown.
Oh, right. Sorry. I thought you meant the A10 team. Sorry.
No,
I thought that conference flip happened already. Yeah.
I was gonna say, guys, the NEC only has nine schools. Georgetown could definitely go in there. I think it would be even, right? 10 and 10, Big East.
Yeah,
NEC.
I think that's good.
Yeah,
we could do a little relegation. Georgetown wins that conference, they can come back up the next year.
Can we give them DePaul too?
I think DePaul goes to whatever the Midwest equivalent is. I don't even know.
The Missouri Valley, right?
Yeah, might be too good. That's a DePaul team that's banged up. We're talking about St. John's, not knowing anything about them. That St. John's DePaul game, all I learned is DePaul's really bad when all of its players are hurt.
Also, from a scheduling standpoint, that one is December 7th. We're now 8 days past that, and not a single lick of Big East hoops has been played since then. Like, what kind of a terrible appetizer is that?
It made no sense to me, to be honest with you. And I believe I said it to Matt, too, when we saw each other at Carnesecca Arena last Wednesday. It made no sense to me. And if you want to spice things up, Joe, you said it perfectly. It made no sense to you because it made no sense to me either. If you want to get – I'm serious. If you want to get Big East on the map the first game, have like a Villanova UConn to start things off, or have something, that really sticks out. And I'm not saying national television, but one that is, and if you're trying to take a page out of the Big Ten's playbook where they used to start, before Christmas or whatever, right? You're not a Power 5 conference, unfortunately. So you have to get the 2 best, right? Like, remember last year, fellas, on Christmas, DePaul and Creighton? Really? 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 If you're going to put these marquee games on a national holiday, on a big holiday like Christmas, you better be putting a really good 1 and 2 going against each other. Not gonna put a 1 versus 11. That's terrible.
Well, it's not 1 versus 11 right now even anymore. Like,
no, it's
sorry, 1 versus 10. My apologies.
No, Creighton's
all right, 2, 3, wherever they are.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, a lot of the internal reporters from the Big East try and normalize the Power 6 saying, but if you look at things from a college football standpoint, which takes a majority of the college fan bases, it's Power 5, and the Big East nationally has been struggling for attention, especially now that Villanova, the poster child, is kind of limping into conference play. You shouldn't be scheduling St. John's DePaul as the kickoff game, like you said, Joey. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. I was gonna just say, like, UConn, Villanova, UConn, Creighton, like the teams that are slated to be those top tier teams. That's who you put on the national screen on December 7th, not Tony Stubblefield's second year at DePaul and Mike Anderson's hot seat season at St. John's.
Yeah, and if you're gonna give us that game, also give us the one at DePaul so you can have the one interesting storyline of the David Jones return. If you're gonna do that game, at least give us that. They picked the worst half of that series.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, we've deviated quite a bit here from the Providence Seton Hall conversation.
Big East banter.
Oh yeah, gotta love it. The internal dynamics of this conference are always interesting.
Oh, and it can go on for hours, fellas. It can go on for hours. What really grinds our gears from top to bottom?
Did you, Joey, have you by any chance read the Dana O'Neill book from the Big East?
It's funny because I have that upstairs, but because work has gotten in the way, unfortunately, it has grown some dust on it. So I have to blow that off soon and begin to read that.
Well, I'll tell you, in the exact same position as you, Joey.
I made myself get into that over the summer, and let me tell you, once you pick it up, you're not going to put it down.
Oh man,
it's really good, especially with Christmas coming up. That's just a general note. If you're a Big East fan, you're listening to this, you're looking for a last-second Christmas gift, throw that in there because that has some great anecdotes about the history of the conference. I'll be excited to hear some of the stories about the modern day and age when we get 20, 30 years into the future and see what people thought. I wonder if Shaheen Holloway is saying this stuff right now about his team. I wonder what he's going to say in an interview in 30 years when he's asked about it. He doesn't have to care what other people think.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
We're going to get some real unfiltered opinions about which players in that locker room are the issues.
While we're on this path, I would love to know what's going through Patrick Ewing's head right now. Just like his last Big East win was the 2020 COVID Big East Tournament Championship game. That was the last time Patrick Ewing, Big East and NBA legend, won a Big East game as head coach of Georgetown. Like, just let that sit in for a second. Like, that's outstandingly terrible.
Yeah. You couldn't do it if you tried.
And also,
he's not trying.
And also, keep in mind, too, fellas, is that I think also the biggest reason why, and this is my last point here before I'm assuming Matt takes over again and gets back on topic. We do recall about that 4-year contract that was signed, that massive 4-year deal that was signed right around the time that he did win or did lead Georgetown to that Big East championship back in the COVID season. And again, we remember when they officially unveiled that, they did not allow any media inside McDonough Arena. Keep that in mind. So we'll see what that really tells you about all of this and the general aura of what's going on down there, because that's also probably in addition to the last Big East win that Patrick Ewing might see as the head coach. That's probably also the last lick of money that he might see from Georgetown ever again.
I can't imagine he's getting another extension after this one. I'll tell you that much.
No, he's not getting anything. If anything, they're just gonna. Well, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't know how you resolve that situation. I don't know if you guys saw today. Georgetown had a press conference today, which I unfortunately could not attend. But the Hilltop Hoops, those guys over there who covered Georgetown, they were tweeting about how they've essentially been shadow banned from asking any questions at the press conferences. They're never called on to ask anything. So they just kind of put out a tweet that said, we can't go. We're not going to go and bother with this. But here's the questions that we would like asked. And I did not see a single lick of anything after that press conference from anybody in the Georgetown media. Was there just no information from the press conference?
I mean, this is what, and I've worked in college athletics on the administrative side, in the NEC, and I've dealt with championship teams, right? Mm-hmm. And again, NEC championship teams, it really means nothing, right? But when it does come down to the playoffs, right, or even to the conference championship and the conference tournament, Sometimes, when you have these press conferences or makeshift press conferences, right, and there's no one there, you'll have the SID or whoever ask a couple of questions, and it won't be, the questions that want to be asked. It'll be the questions, basically those softball questions.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're getting or what Patrick's been getting for however long. Because I could see them, I could see whoever it is, the moderator could say, nope, we're not going to point to anybody here because we know that it's going to make the school look bad. It's going to make us look bad. It's going to make everyone look bad. But also, hindsight's 2020. It's if you don't call on anybody, it makes you look bad either way. So it's a lose-lose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be a lose-lose with the play, the product on the court right now, and the fact that nobody is seeing it too. It's the only thing worse for Georgetown right now than receiving criticism is receiving no coverage whatsoever and kind of fading into irrelevance, which with the number of people that went to that, I mean, they gave out free tickets and nobody went to a game. That's kind of the point where you're going in a different direction.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for the inevitable Georgetown upset of UConn, and then Patrick Ewing gets a lifetime extension. Just wait.
If that happens, oh my goodness, somebody should get fired for malpractice if that happens.
And it'll be Dan Hurley.
or he'll just get teed up by James Breeding at some point.
Oh yeah, and then the Big East will have to publicly shun him and reprimand him for his comments.
Oh yeah. I feel like Dan Hurley getting teed up it's like the free space on the bingo board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen this year. You count on it.
Take your space.
Yeah. All right, we've gone way off here. I think we'll bring it back and we'll wrap up with a couple predictions for this game. Joey, you're the guest here, so I'll let you go first. What do we actually see Saturday, and what's the outcome?
So I think we're going to see a lot about the identities, and it's pretty much the same thing I think across the board. We're going to see the usual suspects on defense. We're going to see Casey Nadefo. We're going to see what Trey Jackson can do. We're also going to see what Kadari Richmond can continue to do. 9 steals in the last 2 games for Richmond, and he's been fantastic. Casey Nadefo, he's been great coming in from St. Peter's, but for Providence also, I'm really looking forward to see someone other than Bryce Hopkins and Ed Croswell. I want to see what Jared Bynum can do. I want to see what a lot of these guys can do. Again, 7 players that are no longer here from the Sweet 16 team last season. My prediction, I still believe Providence comes out on top because of what's going on with Seton Hall offensively, in addition to their injury to Femi Odekale, who has been a big contributor on defense. I'm going to say the exact same prediction as I said before, Matt. I think it was 62-54. I stand by it.
All right. I like it. We got a guy from the other side of things coming on and predicting a Friars win. So that's always a good thing. Joe, are you going with a Friars win here too?
I am. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than that, but I like that, range in the 50s to 60s. I would say, 58-54 maybe. I think Providence is going to take some adjusting to a higher level of opponent. We kind of rolled through the last 3, but keep in mind that's Rhode Island, Manhattan, UAlbany. I think on the Seton Hall side of things, the guy we haven't brought up yet is Al-Amir Dawes. Matt, from our text chain that he's someone that I've been high on in this non-conference. I think he just screams Big East guard. So I think if he can get going offensively, that the Providence backcourt's going to have a tough time with him. I mean, sure, you can throw Devin Carter on him, but then you leave the wing wide open, and Hopkins can't really handle that by himself. So it's going to be a give and take with that. And on the offensive side for Providence, Joey, I think your point is spot on. We need someone else other than Bryce Hopkins to step up, whether it's Carter, whether it's Ed Croswell, Clifton Moore. I think Jared Bynum coming back and, turning it on for conference play would be huge. But until that happens, I think this is going to be more of a rock fight than an offensive clinic.
And also one more thing too, guys, just in addition to that point, turnovers for Seton Hall are key. This is a team that was coached by Kevin Willard for so many years where they were very careful with the basketball. This year, it's a little different. And now we're seeing 30 turnovers in the last 2 games. Not great, and something that Shaheen Holloway has harped on, in addition to his, we are immature comments. The turnovers have to come down.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch. The Friars defense has not been overly fantastic at forcing the turnovers, I don't think, but this may give them an opportunity. I think this is an opportunity for Seton Hall's offense too to have almost a get right game with how the Providence defense has been. I think there's an outcome here where Seton Hall's offense finds itself, lights up the scoreboard, or relative to what the team has done this season, and makes things difficult for the Friars. But I'm going with the Friars in this one. That's going to be my prediction. I said around 70-60 on your show, and I'll stick with that because I think the Friars offense found something in the last week and a half here. I think they're going to maybe struggle a little bit early, but they're going to find it again on Saturday. And I don't think Seton Hall's offense right now, as constructed, has the firepower to match that. And it'll end up being kind of a 5-point game throughout that slips to a 10-point game there at the end.
What I like most about this matchup is it is the first matchup of conference play for both of these teams, and it will also be the final matchup of conference play for both of these teams when you look ahead to March. So I think what we see this Saturday at 12:30 is going to be completely different from what we see on March 4th, whatever time that game is, a couple months from now. I think we're going to see 2 different teams then. So I like, that we're starting like this and ending with the same matchup. I think you're going to see 2 completely different teams by that time.
Yeah, and also, guys, Joe, you said that perfectly too, because it can also be it could be indicative of where both programs will end up in the standings too for the Big East tournament as well. And again, we know now that obviously since UConn came back into the Big East, there's also that 4:30 game on Wednesday too. So you never know. Obviously, it's the top 6 that make it, to Thursday, and then you've got the bottom
6 play on Wednesday, and the
bottom
top
6.
5.
Thank you. Yeah. See, there you go. I knew it was off there, but
yeah. UConn out here screwing everything up.
there are those 3 games, and you never know. That 6-7 could potentially be up for grabs. And again, too, one final thought for me, guys. Alexis Yetna, a big guy, big, tall forward, really a center down low. He's 6'10", 6'11". He's out with a whole bunch of knee issues. So we don't know. We were definitely not going to see him on Saturday, but there's a lot of chatter that we've gotten to hear that he could be back. Keyword is could be back, quote, right around the January, February mark. So that could be something that we might see in March. That could
be the difference between Seton Hall being in the tournament or not being in the tournament, the way he plays when he gets back. And I feel like that's the case for a couple teams here. Villanova with injury concerns, Creighton now with Kalkbrenner being sick. I look at Butler, down a starter right now with Ali. I think that's one of the reasons we've seen such a non-conference that was not up to expectations, as these teams are not fully who they're going to be in March right now.
Yep.
No. All right. Well, thank you for joining us there. Joey, let the people know, where can they find you?
Thank you, Joe and Matt, for having me on. Truly appreciate it. And Matt, thank you also for joining us earlier on Instant Reaction. You could find me on Twitter at RealJoeyJazz, RealJoeyJazz, and you can also follow us on Twitter at Observe Eastern, exactly how you see that, and you'll also see, where are we? Over there. No, there we go. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that logo right there, or simply right here. Could have done that. That was much easier. You see that logo, you've hit the right spot. So yeah, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're everywhere. So just search the Eastern Observer, and also on YouTube too, Eastern Observer. So guys, thank you so much for having me. Truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Definitely make sure to go follow Joey, and I love your handle, by the way. It's a great one.
Thank you.
Yeah, coming from Matt St. Dream.
Yeah.
That's good too.
Yeah, and then there's just at Joe Howie. You got to come up with something better there, Joe.
I got a boring name. What can I say?
All right. Well, we'll be with you at some point after the game, giving you some coverage. Thanks for coming on, Joey, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Go Friars.